Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Boardgame Specialist. I am Melanie.
And I'm Carla.
And this week we're going to be doing our top 9 word game for episode number 9.
Yes.
Now, before we get into that, we like to kind of talk about a bit about games we've played. So Carla, what have you played this week?
I've been playing Tapestry with the new arts and culture expansion. It's kind of added a whole new track to the game. So if you've never played Tapestry, it's basically a game with 4 tracks around the board. There's science, technology, military, and I can't think of the 4th one, but the 5th one adds arts to it. And so you just, on your turn, you choose to move up one of these tracks. And you have to pay resources to move up. Depending what level you're at, there's 3 different levels on each track. And so you move up these different tracks and they'll give you all kinds of different things. You also have this little board to the side of your player board that you're trying to cover up with different buildings or your little income buildings. And the more you cover up, the more points you'll get during income, the more resources you'll get. It's a really fun, it's technically a civilization game, but it's kind of been really harped on that it's not a civilization game. It's more about tracks. And either way, I like it. It's a really fun little engine builder. And the new track adds a bunch to it because it adds these whole new cards that you can get to play on your board that you can... you'll get to benefit from during income or if you land on certain spaces, and they just give you more things. So there's so much to do in this game and so many different ways to victory that it just adds more to it, but it's super fun. Another one I did play, I finally got Fields of Arle to the table with another player, so that was awesome. Yeah, we got to play 2, very fun. And then we also played this game called Royale. So it's basically just a card game. And you have 2 decks in front of you. One is items and the other one is resources. And you start your turn with, I think, 6 resources. And then on your turn, you get to pick up 3 more. So you can have a max of 14 cards in your hand in a 2-player game, and it's more in multiplayer games. I think it goes up to 6 players. So you have all these resources, and the resources are like wood, stone, apples, gold, iron, and what you're using them for is to build these items. So the items are kind of laid out. There's about 5 out at a time, and you can build as many of them as you want. But you don't want to spend too many of your resources because those are kind of like your health too. So if I build an item that maybe makes my opponent have to get rid of 4 of their resources and they only had 4 in their hand, well, they would die and I would win the game. So that's basically what you're doing, is trying to just get them to get rid of all their cards at some point. And the other way you can win is you can escape this island. So you can gather all these escape points and you have to get up to 10. But those sit right in front of you. So the other player can also kind of attack those cards and get rid of them. So it's quite hard to escape. But it's kind of neat because you can build all these things like slingshots or different like guns, but you have to have bullets to use them. And then you can attack, like take somebody's item from them. And 2 players, it was still pretty fun, but I could imagine that it would be a lot of fun with multiple players. Have you tried that one?
Port Royale? No, I haven't.
Yeah, it's really neat.
I've heard good things about it. But...
And there's all kind of decks you can get for it, of course. Comes with 1 basic and then 1 extra one in the base game. But yeah, so what have you been playing?
So, Tiny Epic Dungeon finally arrived. So we got that to the table, and we played it wrong because we were playing it, and it was fun. It was really neat, but it was easy. And I'm like,
too easy. Yeah.
I have heard about how hard this game is. We're not playing this right, and we weren't. We were only moving the the monster track forward when we rolled the dice to move it forward. So we didn't, but you're supposed to move it up every step, which brings in more goblins into the dungeon, and it kind of makes the monster attacks and that sort of stuff. So, but really neat, and it's kind of cool how you go around the dungeon and you build it up as you go when more tiles come out. So it was fun. But yeah, so I'll have to play that one again, following the proper rules.
Mm-hmm.
And then following our last episode, I ended up going and buy Mystic Vale Essential Edition.
All right.
And I sold my copy. So we played that one again. This is such a neat game. We played basically the base game, which is a card crafting game. So you have 20 cards and you buy these clear cards to put into your sleeves that kind of builds up your card. The only thing we kind of added into this one that I hadn't with the previous one was the badges that do separate, like there's all different kinds. We randomly drew some and then picked one we wanted. And the one that I had was, it forced me to push at least once, like push your luck at least once. So I couldn't be like, hey, well, I just revealed the third one, so I'll stop now. I had to push at least once.
Just once per game?
Well, per hand, right? And then if I did and I bust, then you flip this over. So it's kind of like that, the big disc.
The mana?
Yeah, so it's kind of like the big mana disc, but instead it's a badge. And then when you flip it over, then it gives you a special ability.
Oh.
So it was kind of neat. It adds a little bit more to it, but yeah, no, Mystic Vale, such a great game. And then my youngest son is big into anime, and I had ended up buying secondhand Tanto Cuore, and I finally got the copy over to the house. And I gotta tell you, based on the artwork on that one, I know my teenage son is into anime. It was like, and this basically plays like Dominion.
Mm-hmm.
So you have your starter hand, and they're maids, and you run a house, and the currency is love, and you show more love to the maids, and that's how you bring them in and you hire them. And I mean, and they're all like big busty women, like, so it was, but it was a neat gameplay actually. It kind of plays, like I said, very much like Dominion, so it was neat. And then me and Lee ended up playing a game of Raptor, which is such a cool 2-player game. One plays as the mama raptor and the babies, and the other one plays as the scientist. And what's really neat with this one is like the action selection, because you have a deck of cards that you shuffle and you pick up 3. And the cards have numbers on them, and there's an action on the top as well. So you select a card and you reveal it at the same time. And whoever has the lowest number, do the top action. And then whoever has the highest number gets to do a series of different action that their side can do, but it's the difference of the 2 numbers. So if I had played a 9 and Lee had played a 2, then I would have 7 actions to do, which would give me the ability to do tons of stuff on my turn. But if I had played an 8 and he played a 7, then I only get 1 action, and then he gets to activate a special action. So it's such a neat game. I really like Raptor, so. And those were the games I played this week.
Yeah, I've never played Raptor.
Oh,
it was at our cafe, and I never got to it, but looks interesting.
It is super neat. I had heard like it was on a bunch of top 10 lists all the time, and then I was like, okay, so my friend Lyle, I believe, was the one who sold this one to me, because half my games come from him. And then I did not realize the action selection with the card, how that worked, and it's very cool. But yeah, so Raptor is such a neat little 2-player game. All right, so that's what we've played this week. So we're going to be getting into our top 9, and this week we're doing top 9 word games. Now, I really like word games, and I grew up with some, and then I've played tons, but my family really doesn't. So these aren't games that I necessarily get to play often. Now, I believe you guys play a little bit more.
Yes, I'm actually the opposite. I used to not be very big into word games. I didn't really like Scrabble. And so they just sort of turned me off. And everybody, my friends, my gamer friends, my non-gamer friends, my family, they all love word games. So we started playing some word games, and now I just keep collecting them. And I'm enjoying them quite a bit. They're much better than Scrabble.
Nice.
Me. Yeah.
Huh.
So start.
I'm looking at my list here, and like I was like, "There's this one that I love, and I don't think it's on my list. I must have forgotten to put
Maybe
it in
I'll
there."
say it, and then you can add it in as a 0.5.
Yeah, if not, I'll mention it later. But
yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's get into honorable mention. You want to mention first, or we'll do that at the end?
I have two little ones that I don't get to the table much, but they're still kind of neat. One's called Medium. I don't know if you've ever played it, but it's
I've heard of it, yeah.
Yeah, it's just a simple game. You pull this card and you get two different words that are completely different, like could be like bread and vampire. And you sit around the table like normal, and two people next to each other will be playing. And so they have to think of a word that connects those two. And I can't actually think of one right now.
Bread and vampires. Like,
I don't know why I said those two things, but anyway, so say they just both spit out, one put out blood, which doesn't make sense, and another one put out teeth, right? Mm-hmm. So then those two words would be your next word that you try to get, because you're trying to get to the same word, right? Mm-hmm. If you, for some reason, happen to get to the same word, you'd get this high point in the middle, and you'd each get to take one of those chips and put it and then like in front of you, and then you'd go to the next player. So then those two players would play the same type of game. But you basically just will go around the table and do that. You're kind of working together, but you still have your own points, because next time it comes around to me, I'll be working with the person on my right. And it sounds kind of weird, but it's very interesting and fun, because sometimes like me and my son would come up with the same word, and it's so bizarre, because we're like, what? How would you know that? Just some people who are connected weirdly could come up with the same word. So that one's really interesting and neat. We haven't played that a lot lately, but the other one is Letter Jam. I find really neat. It's a game that you play with cards in front of you that you can't see. You first will make up a word with some cards that you have, and then you'll pass those cards to another player, and then they're trying to guess there were letters in front of them, and you're trying to guess yours as well. And you only put one up at a time, so it's facing everybody else. And then on your turn, or it can be anybody, can make up a word of all the letters that are showing. So everybody will have one letter in front of them showing. They can't see their own letter. And say they make up the word cat, and they won't say the word, they'll say, now I think I've kind of forgot how it goes, but it's...
Yeah, you put the letter, like a number token in front of where the position of the letter would be.
Right.
So
you don't say the word, right?
No, you don't say the word, because that would kind of show, and that's one of the thing we kept doing by mistake, is revealing the letters by mistake. But so if it was cat, then you would put a 1 in front of the C, a 2 in front of the A, and then a 3 in front of the T. And then depending on where you position, you might not see some of those letters, but you would see like, okay, C, A, and whatever my letter is.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, cat would make sense there, but yeah.
So you're trying to guess the letter in front of you, and sometimes you've got a really good idea of it. But yeah, it doesn't get to the table much, because I've tried it with my family and it didn't work that well. But I have played it with a bunch of gamers on the Dice Show cruise, and it was so fun, because we all followed the rules and played right. But yeah, I'd like to try it, maybe at a convention or something again. But So what about you? Any honorable mentions?
Well, I'm just going to keep that one that I noticed I missed from my list. Well, I'll mention it now, actually. Okay. This probably, honestly, would have been my number one had I thought of it in time. And that's Wordsy.
Oh,
Wordsy
yeah.
is such a great game, because you have these cards that you flip over and now have letters on it. And then one's going to be a 3-point letter, and then you'll have a 2-point letter and a 1-point letter. And what's really neat with Wordsy is, the big problem with word game is having access to a wide vocabulary and kind of coming up with very intricate words. With this one, you're not limited to the letters that are on the table. You can use any letters you want. You just score the ones that are on the table. So if there was a D and then there's an O and then there's an L, well, you could be like, okay, well, I'll do doodles, and then you get to score the D and the O and the L, so.
Oh, I think we were playing this wrong.
Oh, are you? So that's what I think is kind of makes it more approachable to other players, just because you're not limiting the words you have access to. You could use any words you want, but you only score the ones on the table. And then every round, the two, they shift. You take two away, then the letters shift, so they become less valuable, and you got new words that comes out. It's such a neat game. Yeah, and this probably would have been my number one. And I'm just looking at my list. I'm like, oh my God, where's Wordsy?
It's not on there. Is this the one by Gil Hova?
You know what? And that's because I didn't. Let me bring it up here real quick and have a look. But yeah, no, it's I'm trying to like I played it at the first time as my friend Darren's house, and then he was selling his copy, and I'm like, oh, okay, I want it. So, but yeah, no, it's very cool. Wordsy is it was published in 2017, and it is designed by Gil Hova.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
So he's the designer of that game I sold you. What is that called?
The one you sold
with the TV ads.
Oh yeah. Networks.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I didn't buy that many games from you. Yes, I should.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
but
yeah,
it's a good game.
He did Wordsy as well. It's such a great game. Mm-hmm. It's so good. But yeah, so we'll make that my honorable mention, but just, would have been number one. All right, so let's get started with the official list. So, Carla, what do you have in number 9?
My number 9 is called Just One. It's a 2018 game by Ludovic Rudy and Bruno Squatter. It's a party game, I would say. You don't actually even need the game. You could really play this with just paper. But it's nice because you have these little dry erase boards, these little tiny ones that you can write on with. They come with dry erase markers as well. So you will take a card, and on the card there'll be about 5 different words. And so you'll just choose a number, and you'll face the card away from you, just like in Letter Gem. And then you'll choose a word off there. Actually, no, one person can't see the card. That's right. So everybody else can see the card. So say you choose truck. Okay, so say 4 people know the word. Now, they have to think of one word that will describe that word. You want to think of a word that not everybody else will choose, because if 2 people come up with the same word, it cancels out and you can't use it. So you want to have as many as possible words that will describe this single word, because there's one person who will look at all these words and try and figure out what the word is. Mm-hmm. It's a cooperative game, so you just try to beat your score, basically. I think you go through 11 turns and try to get as many as possible. It's quite fun because when you're trying to think of a word, you're just like, okay, I know he's going to say that. I know she's going to say that. So I'm going to say this. And then nobody says the obvious word.
Right.
So
yeah, that happens often.
But it's quite fun. That's my number 9, Just One.
That is a great one. And that's another one I forgot to put on my list.
Yeah.
But anyway, so my number 9 is Mystic Path. Now, Mystic Path was published in 2021. It was designed by Brian Lee and Kevin Worden, and it's published by R&R Games. And this is like a brand new game, and my friend Michael brought it over. And it kind of reminds me a little bit of Codename in the way that it plays. But you have this big circle, and in this circle there's a bunch of different holes that you put this little disc into, and they like randomly fill this in, and it could have any kind of type of word. We had one that was Elmo. Was it Elmo? Something like that. Elmo. And then there's the Forbidden City, and like all bunch of different words that way. And you get a map and this shows the path that you got to take. So you start at, like, there's these start point all around the circle, and then based on your map, you got to get everybody to guess which way you're going. And you have these cards that gets handed to you that gives descriptive words or whatever. And then this is what you have, and you're limiting to utilizing this. And, so I put, I think was, I don't know, cute or something for Elmo. And then the consensus at the table was very much, no, Elmo's not cute, is annoying, so that's not what that is. So they said, it's like, she's going this way, because that's cute. Elmo's annoying. I was like, oh, crap. Like, I was thinking. But, it was really interesting, because you're limiting to the words, the cards that you have to give clues, and also the path of what is in front of you, because they'll be like, okay, so I'm here, and there's 3 ways you can go. And then you show your first step, your second step, and your third step, I think. So it's like, okay, well, she put for her first clue this. Now, that could be this or this. But then for the second clue, she put this letter. So that kind of gears more towards going to this second step. So then she would have had to go here first, then there. So, and it's interesting. And it's a co-op game. But yeah, kind of reminds me a little bit of Codenames, as in you're giving clues, trying to get people to guess which path you're going on. And you have so many rounds and trying to get everybody to complete their path. And yeah, that Elmo thing I can't remember if it was Elmo, but it was like some sort of puppet character, something like that. And then, yeah, like that totally threw it off, because I was like, oh, well, that's a cute character. And then everybody's like, oh, he is not cute. So it must not have been Elmo, because Elmo is cute. But
maybe it was like Caillou or something. I find him annoying.
Oh, my God. Yeah, he is super annoying. But yeah, so it's all these random words, right? And then it changes every time, because you get a different path, you get different words that's flipped over, you get different cards to give for clues. It was interesting. So that's my number 9, Mystic Path.
Nice. My number 8 is called So Clover by Francois Romain, made in 2021. So this one is supposedly a sequel to Just One. Not the same designer, but I think it's the same production company. So each person has this little plastic clover, and you can fit 4 cards in the middle of it, and they all sit in a square. And what you need to do on the top of the clover part is connect the 2 words in the square, like there's a word on each side of the squares. So you're going to connect those 2 words with 1 word, and you're going to write it up in the top of the clover. And you're going to do this 4 times around your clover. And then you're going to take those 4 cards out, add 1 more card, shuffle them up, and then you're going to give this to everybody else at the table, and they are going to try to put the 4 cards in the exact spot according to the words you put at the top. It doesn't sound like much, but it's quite neat, because what you think in your head, and then you see and listen to what people are trying to deduct and figure out, it's so funny. Because they'll look at different things and like, oh, okay, well, this one is a park, and this one is flowers, and those have to go together, and that must line up with this word that is sanctuary or something. And you have all these completely different things in your head that you have put down, and you just want to say something. No, that's not the right card. And then sometimes the card that you pull out randomly to add in fits better than the card you have put in there. It's fun, but it's just another cooperative one where you're just trying to beat your score. And it's kind of one where you'll do a round, because I think every person just has to lay out their little board, and everyone has to try and guess it. And that's like basically the game. So so if you have 4 people, there's kind of 4 rounds that you'll play, and as soon as you're done, you'll have so many points, and then you always want to play it again and try and beat your score. Some people don't even keep score when they play this one. It's more of just an activity, but it's really fun and it's interesting. I've never played it. No, I did play it with some gamers, and it was really fun, but it works well with families too. You played this one?
Yeah, actually, So Clover is also my number 8.
Oh, wow.
And
Perfect.
I when I first saw it, I was like, oh, okay, that looks cool. Because, yeah, you put these, like, these cards have the holes in there so they fit into this holder. And, like, when we played it, I like the way it went in, I had mustard and bathroom. And my word was gross because I don't like mustard. And I mean, bathrooms are gross. So, but
Some
there
people
was,
love mustard.
well, some people love mustard, but then they know me and they know my
Oh, they
feelings
know
on
you,
mustard. But they were so caught up because one of the other square had a yellow, so they're like, "Oh, yellow mustard,"
yeah.
and they kept trying to put that together under gross. And I was like, "Well, no," but yeah. So it is a very interesting game, definitely. It's unique, like as far as
Yeah,
a game
it's
that
different.
just came out. So yeah, so that was my number 8 as well. So Clover.
Yeah, I remember I seen you had it before Christmas, and I was trying to get it before Christmas so we could play it, over the holidays. I don't think I got it till after Christmas. We did, and maybe play it on New Year's, but fun game. So that was your number 8 as well. Okay, well, my number 7 might be a crossover too eventually. It's called Word Slam from Inca Brand and Marcus Brand, made in 2016. So this one I played actually with you. You have 2 teams and you sit on opposite sides of the table and you have these decks of cards. And now I can't remember how the decks are categorized, but you just...
Yeah, there's like easy, medium, hard, and harder.
Oh, okay.
Something.
Words, like easy words. Okay. And so do you pull just certain numbers from each, or you can just dig through the whole decks?
Well, there's 2 clue givers on each team, and they'll pick what category they want to go, and they'll look at the cards, and there's like 8 words on the card, and then they kind of, one will look at it and say, okay, I'm thinking we should do number 5, and then the other one would look at it. It's like,
oh yeah, on the 2
yeah.
teams, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you start digging through your cards, and you put these cards up on this little platform so everybody can see, and you're kind of trying to be a little bit quiet on your sides because the other team can listen to your side as well. And if you're not fast enough putting up cards, you just start listening to the other side, what they're shouting out. And you'll see your cards and what they're shouting, you'll try to put it together, or you might just be super fast and have a great little lineup of cards and everyone will guess the word. It was really fun. We did not beat the guys, unfortunately.
No.
But
oh my God, they were good.
They were good. And usually those word games, like I don't want to
Right.
be,
Well, it's like, remember they had like vehicle, shoot, and they guessed tank instantly. Yeah.
Actually, my husband, my brother are really good at word games too. They would be good at that one. My dad as well. Yeah, that's my number 7, Word Slam.
Wonderful. So my number 7 is Codenames. So it's published in 2015 by Vlada Shevtil and is published by Asmodee. So now Codename has a lot of different ones. There's Codename Pictures, Codename Duet, Codename Simpsons, Codename Harry Potter, Codename Disney. Like there's a bunch of them. This, like the word one, is really the original Codename with the red box. And you have all these cards that you put in a grid and they all have words on it. And you play in 2 teams and you get the clue givers and they play at the same time, and they have a little map of which of the words in this grid they want to get their players to guess. So on my team, I know there's, like these 5 words I'm trying to get them to guess. Then on the other team, they have 5 different words. But then there's the assassin word. Like if they guess that one, that's the word you really don't want them to guess. So, because if they guess it, the game is over instantly. And you're trying to come up with a clue that will associate as many words as you can without including the other team's words or the assassin words, right? So maybe you'd be like, okay, well, vehicle 3, and then there's cars, truck, and helicopter, and you're trying to get them to guess those. But there's tricycle, and they decided to put tricycle in there, and it's like, oh shoot, no, we're done. And it's really neat. It takes a while to kind of get thinking, okay, how do you link up these words? Like, and sometimes there's just hardly, like, it just feels like there's nothing that links them together. But It's a neat one, and it's one of those ones I find like when you have a big group of people, and you'll have people say, "Oh no, that's fine. I don't really want to play games. You guys go ahead." And then you get playing, and then they get right into
Oh
it.
yeah.
And like it really is one of those that gets the whole group
Yeah.
going and interest, like, and all into it. And so it's always have gone over well. And I find like slightly bigger group, the more fun it tends to be as well. So that is my number 7, Codenames.
Nice. My number 6 is a game called Word Domination by Jeff Beck in 2017. So this is like a spelling game. So you have this grid of letters. It usually starts in a square. Maybe that is just with 2 people. But you'll have all these different letters. And on your turn, you'll have a tile as well, which has a letter on it. And you're going to place it around the grid, anywhere. Doesn't matter. And then you're just going to spell word. You don't have to connect letters when you're spelling. You just choose from the grid. You'll spell a word. And whatever word you spell, you'll take your little, I think they're, I don't know what they're shaped as. Let's just say they're cubes. You're going to place one on each of the letter that you've spelt. Then the next player will go. They'll place their little letter outside the grid and spell another word. Now, if they spell a word with one of the letters that you have, they will take off yours and put theirs on. If on the next turn you spell a word and you happen to put one on a letter that you already have one that hasn't been removed, you get to steal that tile. So you flip it over and you keep your little cube on there. So that's yours for the whole game. Now, what you're trying to do is connect eventually a bunch of these stolen letters, because at the end of the game, when you're going to score, depending how many you have connected, you're going to get more points and more multiplier as well. So you will have all these little lines of your cubes all around, and you'll count up your score and the other person will count up theirs, compare them, and the winner is the one with the most, obviously. But there's also another part of the game where you have these little player powers, because you can play without them, just the base game, but you can also play with, if you flip your board over, you have a player power. So it just gives you a little cheat in the game that you can do that the other player can't, and they'll have one as well. It's really neat because you're trying to figure out, do I go offensively and just try and put a bunch out so that I can steal, or do I, defend some of the ones and try and kick their cubes off? And it's just neat because you don't have to only use certain letters. You get to use everything that's on the board, and you just want to try to think of the longest word possible. It's super fun. I've only played with 2 players, but it does go up to 4 players. So it would be neat to go back and forth, stealing the tiles, taking cubes off from other players. But it's really fun. Have you tried that one?
I have never even heard of that one.
Yeah,
so
it's
like
really fun.
A word area control game.
Yeah,
Sounds interesting.
Exactly. Yep.
Perfect. And that was your number 6. All right. So my number 6 is Werewords. It was published in 2017, and it was designed by Ted Alspach, and it's published by Bezier Games. And this kind of follows the werewolf game, where you have the werewolf, you have the villagers, you have the seer, and all those are secret roles, and you don't know who's who. And you'll have your clue giver. And then you can play this one with the app, and then that's kind of normally how we do it. So you'll select which kind of category of word you want to do or how difficult you want to go. So it could be a very simple word. So let's say it's table. And it's basically 20 questions. So then people are going to start asking questions like, okay, well, is it plant-based? Or, well, yeah, it's made of wood. So then the clue giver will kind of give a green checkmark token to say yes. Okay, well, is it food? And then you would put an X to show that no. And you kind of hand out answers that way. And then the werewolf is going to try and get the question to go complete, because the werewolf knows what the word is. And he's going to try to ask questions that kind of stir you away from the answer. Now, the seer also knows what the word is, and we'll try to keep people back on track a little bit with the questions they're asking. But it comes at the end. Like if you guess the word, then the villagers win technically, unless the werewolf can point out who the seer was, and then the werewolf wins. If you didn't guess the word, but the villagers, I was like, okay, the werewolf was that one. And if they're correct, then they would be able to banish the werewolf that way. So it's kind of like a 20-question werewolf game. It's a really neat one. It was a lot of fun. We played it at Michael's the first time, and then I played it at Boardgame Bash of Blood with a bunch of different players. And it's a very neat, fun one. We played it with the kids here as well, because it's a werewolf going, right? So you can accommodate a big group of people. But yeah, so that was my number 6, Werewords.
Yeah, I've never played this one. I've seen this talked about several times, but no, I never got to play it. Have to try it sometime. That was your number 6?
That's right.
My number 5 is Cross Clues by Gregory Grard, made in 2020. So this game is very similar to Codenames, but the difference is you have a grid in front of you, that's not the difference, but you have letters going from the left side, A, B, C, D, and then on the top, you're going to have numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, A, B, C, D, E. There might be a 5x5 with more players, but with 2 players, I think you only go to D. So what you're going to do is in front of these letters and numbers, you're also going to have a word. So each one will have a word in front. So say the grid, you see like an A4, you'll have 2 words there, right? Now you also have this deck of cards that has like A1, A2, B3, all these different combinations in them. And you're going to draw from this deck. So you'll have 2 or 3 cards in your hand, and you will look at them and say, like, I have D1, I have C3, and you look at the grid where that card will go, and you have to think of a word that describes where that could go. So say on the letter section, you have ice cream, right? Mm-hmm. And then on the number, you have, let's say, vehicle. So you could, well, you can't say ice cream truck, but, you would have to think of a word that would combine those 2. And then as soon as you'll say the word and everyone will look at the grid and go, okay, where's that going to go? Okay, that might go here. Well, it's probably going to go with the ice cream, but which of these words up here is it going to go? So say they say C3 and you were right, you would put that card right in the spot. And then pick up another card. If they were wrong, then that card goes out of the game and you lose that point forever. So you're trying to get perfection, of course, trying to get exact all the cards in the exact right spot. It's cooperative. It's really fun. I've tried it with my family and didn't go over as well as Codenames because there's a little more pressure because you need to put it right in the spot. But I've played it with some gamers and it's really fun. It's a neat little twist on Codenames. That's my number 5, Cross Clues.
Cross Clues sounds cool.
Yeah.
I've seen a picture of it just today, actually.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I wonder what that one's about. And now I know.
Yeah, I think it's on sale at Boardgame Bliss right now.
That's where, I was looking at Boardgame Bliss sale.
My friend has it.
I filled my cart twice and then got out of it twice. I was like, no, I just bought a bunch of games. Okay, so
my carts are always
number
full.
5 is Trapword. And Trapword is published in 2018. It was designed by Jen Brezina, Martin Harbilek, and Michael Posnek. And it was published by Sketch. Oh, jeepers. CZECH. Sets game? Sketch?
Check? Is it Check games?
Yeah.
Oh, CZ. Yeah. Check.
Yeah. Check game. And this basically is a reskin of Taboo.
Oh, okay.
And the way
it
plays
Taboo.
is you play it on 2 teams. Mm-hmm. So you have the one team and you got the other team. And there's a map, or there's a board in front of you. And you got to make your way through this, dungeon or something. And you're trying to make it to the end. And at the beginning, it's going to be a little bit easier. So you're going to have cards. You're going to pick your clue that you're going to need to get your teammate to guess. So I'll be like, okay, well, I'm going to pick this clue. So let's say it is ice cream. But before you start giving your clues, you have to show this to the opposite team, and they'll look at it as a team, and they'll come up with, depending on what level you're at, how many basically taboo words they're going to come up with. So instead of it being pre-decided on the card like taboo is, the other team comes up with what they're going to pick as the...
That'd be harder.
It is, in a way, right? So they'll be like, okay, well, let's put cold, let's put milk, and let's put whatever. So now you don't know what those words are. You don't get to see it. So you're going to try to describe this words and get your teammate to guess it, but you don't know what they put as taboo words, and you're going to try not to activate that. So, but you could be like, okay, I betcha they put milk on there. So you could be creative, says the liquid that comes from cows transforms into this dish. You know, and those could be how you're describing your clue, trying to get like your team to guess, because you're trying not to say milk. You know, maybe you don't want to say dessert. You don't want to say cold. It's like this not hot dish is made of cow liquid. You know, like, so it gets really interesting on how you're describing this thing, because you have no idea what the taboo words are. But and like you could be making a whole weird description of not saying milk, and milk was never on the list anyways. But you just don't know, right? And
because you don't know what's on.
You don't know what words.
Okay.
You don't know what words.
That would be really hard.
So you're like, you're trying not to fall in the traps that they've put. Basically, right? They come up with trap words. Yeah. So you're trying not to activate them. So you get really creative in your description. But then your team could be like, what the heck are you talking about? So, and then the further down you go down this path, the more trap words they can put against your guesses, right? So it's a really neat, interesting game. And there's like, it's dungeon theme, but like you have two sets of cards. You could pick like everyday words or more dungeon themed words as well. So, but it's really interesting, being that you don't know what the trap words are going to be, and the other team comes up with them.
Yeah, that sounds really neat. I'm going to seek this one out.
Yeah, so that's my number 5 trap words.
Nice. My number 4 is a brand new one called Word Heist. It's from Niles, or the designers are Niles Breacher, Patrick Lindsay, and Jordan Sorensen. It's made in 2022. This game is another spelling game, but the interesting thing is you have this few decks of cards, and they're all letters. You have some rare consonants, you have some common consonants, and then you have some vowels. So you're going to take some from each deck, depending on the number of players. I think it goes up to 6 players. And you'll lay these cards out. Now, you have 2 spots on the little game board where you'll put the first 2 letters that you flip over, and they will give you extra points if you use those in your word. The other letters just kind of sit off to the side. So you could have like a rare consonant there, or you could have a common one. It just matters however you flip the cards, because you shuffle all the ones up when you've taken from the piles. So you'll have all these letters out, and each person just spells a word in thinks of a word in their head and spells it out on a little dry erase board. So there's this dry erase is split into 2, and you'll write it on top, and you'll flip it so no one can see. And then you have these little clue tokens. So you have to put at least 1 out. So you can put as many as you want, but you're just going to put 1 out on one of the letters that's in the word. You could put 3 or 4 or 5 out, depending on your word length. But the more you put out, the easier it'll be for other people to guess your word. So say I spelt blunt, and I put out 1 on the L, 1 on the T, and hey, I'll even put 1 on the U, because they may not figure it out because they don't know how many letters are in my word, right? So everybody will do that. So you'll have different colors on each of these letters. Then you're going to look at everybody else's clues and you're going to try and guess one other person's word. So sometimes the letters out are so hard that you can barely make any words out of it, and you'll just guess. So you'll write that on the bottom of your little board. Then everybody flips their boards over and you'll show your word. Now, if nobody's guessed your word, you get all the points for that word. So you'll get 1 point for each letter. Plus, if you had one of those letters that had extra points on it, you'll get those points. You also get a point for each clue you put out. So that's why you do want to put out as many clues as possible, but without giving your word away, because you get more points. And then also on top of the board, there's also 2 little goals that they may say, use 2 vowels in your word and you'll get another point. You might say use a letter twice or something. So if you can do that as well, you'll also get more points. Now, if somebody guessed your word, you will get no points at all. They will get your points. Nice. So it's kind of neat because, you're trying to figure out how many clues should I put out. I need some more points, but I don't want anyone to guess my word. So anyway, you do that for a round. Then you take the cards back, you shuffle them. You're going to use the exact same letters for the next round, but they will be in different spots. You might have 2 different letters that are in those extra point spots. You'll have new goal cards, and you're going to write all the words that were used the last round. Nobody can use those words, and you all have to come up with a new word and do the same thing. So you do this for 3 rounds, and the person with the most points is the winner. It went over really well. It doesn't sound like much describing it. Even reading the rules, I thought, I don't know if this sounds really fun. But it is. It's really neat, especially that second and third round. You're thinking, there's nothing left. There's no words left. And then sometimes there's so many words. And that first round, you're thinking, I'm going to save that one for the third round because it's,
right.
No one's going to guess it. It's really fun, though. I had debated buying this one for a while, and then when we were doing word games coming up, I thought, I better try this one out just in case. And sure enough, it's on my list. Number 4, Word Heist.
Number 4, Word Heist. Yeah, and the title of the game works well for what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Like, hey, can I steal your word? What was your word? So that's good. My number 4 is Anomia. It was published in 2010, designed by Andrew Inez, and it's published by Asmodee. And Anomia is basically a party game. And it's one of those really small, simple games that I bought on a whim at one point, and then we played it, and then I get so into it. It's a lot of fun. But you kind of put 2 stack of cards in the middle, and on your turn, you'll grab a card and you flip it in front of you. And that card will have something on it and a symbol. So the symbol might be like blue squiggly lines or 4 red dots or different symbols. And they'll have a description. Like it could be like salad dressings or type of cereal or something like that, right? And you do that going around, and everybody takes a card and flips it in front of them. But when you get the card and you flip it in front of you, you're supposed to look around and see if your pattern matches any other pattern at the table. And if it does, you got to come up with a word for the style that they have on their card. So if it was salad dressing, then you have to yell out a salad dressing. And they would look at your card, and let's say it was TV sitcom, then they have to come up with a TV sitcom because that's what's on your card. And every time you're like,
you can't think of the word.
Or, it gets so nerve-wracking. But it's hilarious.
It is.
Oh my God, it's funny. And I think play with the right group will make a difference as well. My friend says we play this with you and Lee, and we have such a great time, and we laugh, and we played it with the kids, and it was like,
oh really?
Why was this game good? But so it might be like the group that you play with, but it's just like you're on the spot, it's like, oh shoot,
I know.
I'm trying to come up and be the first one. Then if you guess, you get their card. and you keep that as points, and then you keep going, drawing cards. And then you'll have some cards that flips in the middle, and basically it creates new links. It says, okay, well, the yellow pattern and the red pattern now counts as a match. And then when you guess it and then you take the card, well, the card that's underneath is revealed, and maybe it creates another link. And then you'll be like, guys, you got the link. And it's like, oh. It's, oh my God, it's hilarious. It is hilarious.
It is.
And such a simple, fun game. Mm-hmm. And that's my number 4, Anomia.
This one gets my heart pumping. I like, because you gotta look around, make sure, okay, I don't have any links, I'm not matching them, and then somebody's not paying attention, but you can't even think of the word. I can't think of a cereal. And then all of a sudden they look, Kellogg's or something, and you're like, no. Yeah. My kids love this game. We play this a lot at Christmas. They are really good at it too. It would be interesting to play with younger kids who could understand the words and stuff, but how quick they could come up with the combinations. Whereas those kind of games, for me, I just lose my thoughts. I can't spit out the word.
Like nothing comes out, but I'm loud.
Oh, that's a good one. That was your number 4?
Mm-hmm.
All right, my number 3 is Letter Tycoon from Brad Brooks, made in 2015. This one is another spelling one. So you have a handful of cards, which are consonants and letters. You spell a word with it. It's pretty simple. Lay it out. There's also 3 common letters that you can use. Everybody can use those letters. If I use these letters on my turn, then we would draw new ones for the next turn. Or even if I just use one, you'd replace one. Now, after you spell your word, you make sure everybody agrees with it. It has to be like Scrabble, a dictionary word. You can buy what are they called? I can't think of the word. Patents. Yes, you buy patents. So each letter has a patent. So if you say spell a word with a T, it has to be a letter that you use to spell your word. You can buy the T patent. Now the common letters like TRLS are quite expensive. They're like, say, $8 to $10. But say I bought the T, it would sit in front of me. And then anybody else who uses a T, I'm going to get $1 from that. You also will get money for how big your word is. The bigger, the better. Sometimes if it's quite large, you'll also get stocks, which are just more money. Like at the end, they'll count towards your points. But buying these patents, you'll put in front of you. And then, like I said, if somebody else uses that T, I get $1 for each T that they've used in their word. So I have the monopoly on that T for the whole game. So you do want to buy these common ones, except that they're more expensive. So they're harder to buy at the beginning because you usually only have, $3 or $4 your first round. And then sometimes the harder or more rare consonants like Z, Q, etc., they are cheaper, but they have an ability on them. Like one might be anytime you spell a word, you can also add an S onto it, even though you have no S. Or one of them lets you spell 2 words. So you will probably have some smaller words, but you'll still be able to use all your letters sometimes. It's quite neat because then the end of the game is triggered depending on the player count, how many patents. I think in a 2-player, whoever has 45 worth of patents will trigger the end game. And then you'll add up your patents, your money, and your stocks at the end. And that's winner of the game. It's a really neat production, the game, as well. They have these really nice cards, nice stocks. The patterns are really nice. The colors in them are beautiful. It's really neat. It's another one you can play on BGA as well. I play there quite a bit. But that's my number 3, Letter Tycoon.
Well, I haven't heard of that one, so
yeah,
I'll have
it's
to
fun.
Look into that. My number 3 is by far the oldest game on my list to today. And this is one that my parents used to play all the time. And me and my siblings, me and my brother mostly, would sit in and play. We were not competition at all. We were just trying to take points away from our parents. And if we did, we felt so proud. But it was neat. So this is Boggle. It's published in 1972. It's designed by Bill Cook and Alan Turoff. And it's a Hasbro Asbro game. And this is like, you get this plastic grid that comes with the lid, and there's a bunch of dice in there, and you turn it upside down and you shake it all up, and then you shake it until the dice falls into a hole and it's all set up. And then be like, okay, and then you have like 2 minutes, and then you lift the lid, and then you look at these dice, and you have to maintain a line connection. You could go up, down, sideways, and diagonal, and you're trying to come up with words from these letters that are on the dice and come up with as many words as you can. And you have 2 minutes, and you just sit down and you write all the words that you can see, right? So if you had like EATS together, then you could do T, eat, ate, sat, seat, and you would just kind of write all that down, right? And then of course add the S, T's, and it's so neat. And then you just write as many as you can, and then the longer the words, the more point it's going to give you. And then at the end, when the timer's done, say, okay, we're done. So you put the dice away, and then one person will go and start saying all the words they came up. So it says, okay, well, I had T. So, oh, cross it off. I had it too. So then everybody who had T, because it's a duplicate, cross that one off, and nobody scores it. And then it says, well, then I had T's. You get it, and then you get a point for that. And then if you have like this longer word, then you get more points for more letters that you get to add on. It says, oh yeah, this word was worth 3 points. And then kind of go through all the list and crossing off anything that's duplicates, and then scoring your points, and whoever has the most points, the winner. My family played this so many times, and it was just such a neat game. And that's my number 3, Boggle.
Oh yes, we used to play this for hours, me and my brother, when we were little, trying to, beat each other, trying to cheat and make words that were not even in the dictionary and stuff.
Yeah, we always play that with the dictionary nearby. That was the rule. If it's in the dictionary, then fine, it flies. But if it's not, it doesn't. Yeah. Yeah,
such a simple concept, but it was so fun.
And you could play English, French. Like I played this, and like would play with my friends, and we played in English, and then I would play with my family, we'd play in French, and it was neat.
Nice. That was your number 3.
My
number 2 is Paperback by Tim Fowers, made in 2014. I've talked about this game before. It's basically a word deck builder. So you have a deck of cards, and you start with like R, S, T, L, and I think also like E, A, I, O. Maybe only 3 or 4 vowels, but anyway, you have 10 cards that you start with, and you'll shuffle these cards, you'll take 5, and you're going to spell a word with those 5 cards. There's also one common letter that is available for everybody to use. If you end up spelling a 7-letter word, you will get to take that one and put it in your deck, and then the next one will have to be an 8-letter word before somebody can take that card. But you're going to spell this word, and then on your cards, you'll have amounts that you can use to buy other cards. So you might have 5 cents to spell if you've used 5 of your letters. You'll look on the market, and there's all different prices of letter cards that you can buy. And some of them have abilities on them. Some of them will let you draw more cards from your deck. Some of them will let you trash some cards. Some are actually attack cards. You can like force the other player to only be able to draw 3 cards or something. But the thing that you're trying to do also is buy these little point cards that are really neat. They have really neat art on them. They have little kind of like comic art features on them that anyway you can buy. There's like I think they start at 5 cents, maybe it's like 6 or 7, then it goes to 8 and 11 cents. So you try to build up your deck so that you can spell these bigger, longer words to get more money to buy these point cards, because once 2 of those piles of point cards are gone, that'll trigger the end of the game, and whoever has the most points in their deck will win. And those are the only cards that have points. There are a few throughout the market that will also have points, but it's mostly just those main point cards. So you don't want to clog up your deck too early with these point cards, because all they are is a wild card, and they'll give you a wild letter, but they have no amount on them, so you can't use them to buy more cards. So you kind of want to build up your deck before you start buying those. with lots of good letters so that you can build these long words. It's really fun. I've played this with different groups as well, and we all have seemed to like it so far. The deck building part of it is the neat addition to a word game. I've never seen that yet combined with the word game, and it's really fun. It really adds to the game if you play a lot of games. Instead of just spelling words, you know, the deck building part of shedding your deck, attacking other players, being able to pick up 2-3 more cards. It adds so much fun to it. That's my number 2, Paperback.
Paperback. I bought that one.
Did you?
I haven't played it yet.
Oh, it's good.
Yeah, I bought it secondhand, so it kind of looks cool with the
It is fun.
the deck building but yeah. So my number 2 is Incohearent, which is basically a reskin of Mad Gab. And we played Mad Gab to death, and I love it. So I bought Incoherent as well, because I was like, oh, maybe there'll be like new combinations, and I was excited for that. And the way that this works is you'll have a card that you show everybody, and it has regular words on there. And you're trying to find out what it sounds like, not what you read. So I grabbed the game here, right, because it was right next to me. So this one here I have has 3 words: chest, who, and wit. And you would chest, who, wit. And you're trying to figure out what it is. And then there's hints on the back that you can give. So after a while, if they're not guessing, you could be like, hey, well, it's a global slogan. And then there's another thing, like Sheila Beth advice to any given situation. It's like, okay, chest who wit. It's just do it. Right? Like, okay. So you got to get kind of creative in how you hear things. And honestly, I think with my family, us being half French, well, we're French, and pronouncing things badly anyways, makes this game easier. So we're really good at it.
Because you slur your words? Or what do you mean?
Slur, everything comes together like it is like, well, she's not pronouncing it right, but it actually sounds more like what it's trying to say. But so, and this is just such a neat where you're like, okay, and then like we'll try to do is like, okay, you guys read it, I'm not looking, I'm just gonna listen. And you keep your eyes closed and you're listening. It's like chest to it. What is it saying? Chest to it. It's like, oh, just do it. You know, so, it's neat. It's neat. Like I said, I played this as Mad Gab so much. And then when I saw that they kind of had reskinned it as Incoherent, then I was like, okay, I want that one too. And that's my number 2.
Does it have a white box cover with like blue, yellow, and pink on top? Okay.
Yeah.
It's in my cart.
There you go.
I used to play Mad Gab too. When we were young couples, we would play, Taboo, Pictionary, Mad Gab, all those like party games all the time, over and over. That was one of my favorite. Mm-hmm. Awesome. That was your number 2. Okay, number 1s. My number 1 is a game called Word on the Street by Jack Dagnan, made in 2009. So this is my oldest one on the list. This is another party game. So you have this board in front of you that has all these letters on it. Not every single letter in the alphabet. They've left out a few of the really, like, I think there's no Z and X. A few of them. Anyway. So you have these little chips will start in the middle of the board, and they can slide 3 ways to one team or 3 ways to another team. So one team will sit on one side and one on the other. And all you do is pull up a card and it'll have a category on it. It could say children's names or something, or girls' names or something like that. And you just have to think of the longest word possible that you can use, and you'll spell it out. And every letter you spell, you're going to slide that disc towards your team, right? So if you can think of a big long word, you slide these letters towards you. Then the other team will go. They'll draw a card, has a category on it, and they will try to come up with the word, obviously a long word if they can, but they will want to probably try to think of a word with some of those letters that you have already used so they can slide it back to their side. Because the whole point of the game is you're trying to slide these letters off the board. If you can slide them off, then they're yours. You can't ever get them back. You can still use those letters in the word. They just won't do anything for you. So we've played this at Christmas with, we usually always play boys and girls. It's kind of weird, but well, me and my sister-in-law and my daughter, niece, and all of us will be on one side. The guys will be on the other. And we try to, get the best words. This is another one. The guys beat us at. I don't know how. But it was so fun because you have a time limit as well. So you flip that timer as soon as you read that category and you're like, oh, okay, we got to think of a word really fast. And sometimes you think of one with 4 letters only just so you can steal those letters back so that they're not going to slide off their board the next round. It's really fun. It's such a simple concept. You're just spelling a word as a team, but trying to steal those letters kind of back towards you. And it usually happens that we get to the point, because to win the game, you have to have 7 letters off on your side of the board. It always seems to get to be, they have 6, we have 6. The rest of the letters are in the middle. We start sliding them this way, and it just kind of goes back and forth until you finally spell one word with like 3 G's in it, and you've got that letter or something. But trying to think of that word in, I think it's a 30-second timer. It's really stressful, but it's really fun. That's my number 1, word on the street.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah.
So my number 1 has already been mentioned. And it is Word Slam.
Knew it.
This one is so good. It is just so good. And I've played it many times with the kids. I've played it with you and then with, my girlfriends. And it just goes over so well. And it's just so neat because you've got the word, like the clue givers with the other team have picked a word and they're saying, okay. And then they've got all these cards that they're trying to put in. And you got to get a little creative as to how you're going to make it make sense. And I remember one time we were playing and then on our team, the word I think was Martian. And then she had put not man and then green. And we're like so stuck. It's like, hey, it's not man, it's a woman. And we're
it's a green wound.
And we're like naming all these like the green alien on from that Marvel movie with Guardian of the Galaxies. I was like, what's her name? What's her name? And we're so caught up on that it's not like, oh wait, it's just not human. No, we're like, it's a woman. But yeah, it's hilarious. And then trying to and you could take some cards away and then put them back up and then kind of create different groupings, trying to create these, build up on these clues. And it's such a neat game. You are limited to the cards that you have, but there's so many cards that you got to sift through and then trying to come up with ways of trying to get the point across. So much fun. It is so much fun.
It is a good
and that's
game.
why, Word Slam is my number 1.
Awesome.
So this was our top 9 word games. And there's so many. Honestly, they're so fun to play.
They are.
So that's great. Now, Carla, where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram. I am Board Game Specialist, all one word. I also have a Facebook page called Red Deer Board Game Fanatics. You can reach me there. What about you, Melanie?
So I'm also on Instagram as boardgame_mama. My YouTube channel is also Boardgame Mama, and my Facebook group is Didsbury and Area is Playing All the Games. So that's it for this episode. Next week, we're going to be covering the best game of 2021. So we have different challenges with this one. I was going through all the lists because it's like, oh my God, did I play enough 2021 games to make a list? And I did, not by a whole lot, but I did. And then you had the opposite problem where there's just so many that have a hard time limiting it. So, and that will be for next week. So be sure to tune in for that and find out which is our favorite game for 2021.
Yes.
So, well, thanks for coming, everybody, and we'll see you. So, bye-bye.
Thanks for listening. Bye.